Just what exactly killed Marvel Studios' momentum and has put them back to where they were with Phase 1, with struggling to put out content that people care about? Well, the man who worked in the MCU for the better part of a decade, putting out a trilogy and being an executive producer on multiple Avengers films, aka James Gunn, the man in charge of DC Studios now, their rival, says corporate greed and Disney is what killed Marvel Studios' momentum. And, he's right. Okay, so I can already hear you typing out an angry response in regards to what I said in the opening of the video. So before you type it up, at least watch the next 2 minutes of the video. So let me just repeat what I said in the opening, and then I'll explain to you why I'm right. Just what exactly killed Marvel Studios' momentum and has put them back to where they were with Phase 1, with struggling to put out content that people care about? So for the sake of this and explaining what I mean, let's bring up the Phase 1 box office. Outside of two films that aren't the Avengers, Iron Man and Iron Man 2 made money. The Incredible Hulk is an all-time box office bomb. Thor was a box office bomb. And Captain America, the First Avenger, was a box office bomb. Now, I know what you're going to say. Yeah, but I was there. It wasn't like that. There was hype. No, it wasn't. That's revisionist history thanks to people wearing shirts like this. For Endgame, I remember half the theater had this shirt, and on the back, it's like, oh, I was there for all of these films when they released. No, you weren't. You literally weren't. I was, and I can tell you Phase 1 was dead. Outside of Iron Man 2 and the Avengers, nobody that I saw Endgame or Infinity War with was there. And I'm not saying this to gatekeep, I'm just trying to paint how perception and revisionist history has now changed how big of fans people are of Marvel Studios, when in fact, numbers and literal proof shows you that Marvel struggled right out the gate. And yes, it got popular, and yes, it peaked with Avengers Infinity War, Endgame, of course Captain Marvel right in there, and all that. But since then, it's been downwards. And well, James Gunn tackles this, so let's talk about what he said. So this comes from an interview that James Gunn did with Rolling Stone magazine, where they asked him about Marvel fatigue, about Marvel's quality, about Marvel Studios' box office going down, and what happened. What's the reason behind this? What went wrong? And what does he think about the current status? And this is what he said, and I quote, "Longtime Marvel executive producer Lois D'Esposito said, they put out too much stuff to me privately. I don't even know if it's really their fault. That wasn't fair. It wasn't right, and it killed them. We have to treat every project as if we're lucky. We have to have the mandate to have a certain amount of movies and TV shows every year. So we're going to put out everything that we think is of the highest quality. We're obviously going to do some good things and some not so good things, but hopefully, on average, everything will be as high quality as possible." End quote. Okay, so again, they asked him about the amount of content that they put out and if this is what really hurt Marvel Studios and Disney, and yeah, he says yes. And again, you need to understand what he's saying here and understand that he is right. Marvel Studios went from producing 2 to 3 films a year, and that was their output for what is considered, their heyday, right? 2010 to 2020, that decade, that's like their heyday of putting out content, to now being told, hey, Marvel TV is no more. Now you guys got to take that. Go produce TV content. And now instead of producing 2-3 films a year, they're producing 2 to 3 films a year while producing 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 TV series a year. Everybody, every resource, everybody was spread thin. And thin might even be an understatement. We know Kevin Feige couldn't even be on hand during multiple productions. They had to, split it up, and Brad Winderbaum had to take a giant portion of that, while Disney's then CEO and new CEO Bob Chapek kept putting the pressure on them. And it also didn't help that he was cutting down how much time they had to produce something and post-production while reducing budgets and asking for more. Where in the previous generation, it wasn't like that, which I'll touch upon after this because we got to circle back around to this. So what I'm talking about is, of course, pre-2020 Marvel and how that was actually successful. So I guess here we're going to talk about Marvel Studios struggling. And you guys know the story by now. I think most of you know the story. When Marvel Studios and Marvel Entertainment were two separate entities, not run by Kevin Feige, you had Marvel Entertainment, the TV side of things, producing endless TV shows. At one point, you had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you had Agent Carter, you had Cloak and Dagger, you had Runaways, they were working on Ghost Rider and Hellstrom, you had 5 Netflix shows on top of 2 Fox X-Men shows, and more were in development. That was offloaded onto a different brand. Marvel could just focus on the TV stuff that they needed to, if they needed to, which was very small for them. They dabbled a little bit in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and a little in Agent Carter, but that was it. Otherwise, they were just movie focused. So what happens when they're now tasked with the entire catalog? Of course, they're going to be spread thin. And this was a problem, one, ambition, 2, a mandate by corporate. As James Gunn said, it's the corporate that really drove what happened to happen. And he's 100% spot on. Had Bob Chapek not come in and demanded all this, Marvel would have done TV, but they wouldn't have revealed more projects in Phase 4 than all of Phase 1, 2, and 3 combined. People don't understand the amount of output that Marvel Studios took on during the last 5 years. It is absolutely astronomical. And the fact that we actually got more good than bad is a miracle and a testament to them at least having some quality control. Of course, Eternals, Secret Invasion, and a couple other projects notwithstanding that, still, it's a miracle that they even survived and are going to. And as I mentioned before, Marvel is back to where they were when it came to Phase 1. They're trying to find their footing. And they're introducing new characters and new IPs that they're hoping, like Phase 1 characters, that they're going to build up popularity and momentum. And after Avengers appearances, that they're going to be able to raise their stock, is the best way to put it. And I think there is something to that, because that's how it worked the first time around. Nobody cared about Captain America, but after Avengers, they did. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.